Hi, and welcome to See You at USC. It's the best college talk show on television. I'm going to be your host for tonight. It's Tuesday night. I'm Tom Sparks. We're very excited to have best-selling author and professor of creative writing at USC, Gina Nahai. Thank you. I was so afraid the whole time.
No,
I finally cracked.
The first time, yeah.
Gina Nahai. She's going to be talking about her new book and lots of things regarding Iran and the current situation out there today. I'm Tom Sparks. We'll be right back. And see you at USC. Hi, and welcome back to See You at USC. It's the best college talk show on television. Our guest tonight, Gina Nahai. I say it again, Nahai.
Very well, good,
Now,
yes.
did I not have the correct pronunciation when you came into the studio
No, you
this evening?
absolutely did, and you did well right now, too. Yeah.
I choked.
No.
Well, first of all, let's get this out of the way. You went to UCLA, both undergraduate and you did master's there. We were just discussing it. UCLA is a wonderful program, but couldn't you come to USC?
Actually, I got into USC Law School, and I got a master's at USC also in the same department where I teach now, but I went to USC Law School for a semester.
Really? You're going to be a lawyer?
I was going to be. I thought I was going to be a lawyer.
What did you want to do as a lawyer?
Well, that was a problem. I got to law school and I decided I don't want to do this. The material is very interesting, but you know, the life of constantly being, first of all, talking to people all the time.
You're talking to people all the time now.
Well,
you're on
when I'm
everything.
out promoting
PBS,
the book,
CNBC.
I've been on book tour since September, and really now I do 2 events a day, 3 events sometimes a day, or I'm traveling, and that's you have to be an extrovert. But for the most part, writers sit at home and don't see anyone, and you know, I get annoyed when the phone rings sometimes.
Well, yeah, I've read some of your work regarding going on these press tours, and it seems like maybe not the favorite aspect of the business for you, huh?
You know, I don't know one writer who enjoys going on a book tour. The experience. I mean, we all want a book tour, and you know, if you have a great publisher, I love my publisher. He's done this fabulous, huge book tour and all that. So you wish for it because it's a chance to go and introduce the book and sell the book. But the actual process is pretty awful.
Do you find that when you're doing these, most people are familiar with your work, or do you find that people are BSing you when they come out sometimes?
Well, no. I think the programs that get authors on are mostly intelligent programs anyway. So the host 9 times out of 10 has read this book, has read previous books. I've been on their shows before, so we know each other. So now it's easy. But when I get on those AM shows, sometimes these radio publicists put you on AM shows.
Right.
My first interview for this book was Charlie and Ernie in the morning.
Right.
And he started with, well, we usually don't have authors on because, you know, you'd have to read a whole book and all that. But
is this like a wacky morning show?
I don't know. It's some AM station.
Right.
Charlie and Ernie.
Were there
in
any
the morning.
horns going on in the background?
Oh, you know, all kinds of stuff. And, you know, when you have that, it's like, why am I here? But, you know, publicists get you on everything they can. And thank God they exist, and thank God they do this.
When did you start writing, or when did you know you wanted to be a writer?
I actually didn't know I wanted to be a writer.
I thought you wanted to be a lawyer.
After, I thought I was going to be a lawyer. You know, the thing is this. It's important to have role models in life, and I think kids who grow up. I lived in Iran until I was 13. Kids who grow up in this country have an idea that they could become anything they want, and the educational system is structured so that they could go into any field that they want. In a lot of countries, that possibility doesn't exist. So the idea of, you know, unless you have a role model, very close role model, the idea of, well, I'll just, you know, become a writer or I'll become a filmmaker, you know, that doesn't really exist. And so for me, I went to high school in Europe, and then I came here. And
Switzerland, right?
Switzerland, yeah. And for me, there was just no possibility of me being a writer. So I went to USC Law School, and the dean, which they have really nice chairs in the auditoriums.
Is that what
a lot nicer than some other schools. No. I went there, and then I realized, this isn't the life style that I want. So what to do? And there was a dean there, bless his heart, who gave me a leave of absence because I was really conflicted.
Were you honest? You just said, I'm not sure that this is what I want to be doing with my life?
Yeah, and he said, well, usually they don't give a leave of absence the first year in law school. But he did, which was really surprising. And years later, somebody asked him, somebody I know, why'd you give Gina a leave of absence? He said, I knew she'd never come back anyway. But that, and so once I dropped out of law school, I just started writing because I didn't know what else to do with my time and my life. And slowly, I had this novel, and then suddenly I realized, I guess a writer is somebody who writes. Mm-hmm. And my first book sold really fast. It sold in 1 week. I found an agent in 1 week. So there wasn't this torturous process that most writers go through, a lot of writers go through to get the book published.
And you did something that people weren't doing. I've read many a review of your work, and I've read a lot of your articles. You write very passionately about Iran.
Yeah, it's a strange thing that it's a place I've lived by far most of my life outside of that country.
You left at 13, you said, right?
13, and it's not passionately as in with nostalgia. I have no desire to go back. I left not because of the revolution, because I wanted to. I didn't want to live there anymore.
Really?
But,
At 13?
Well, my whole family left.
Okay.
And then my parents were going to commute, and we were going to go to school, my sisters and I. But there was like no suggestion, even no possibility that I'd ever go back to me. So I don't have that sense of loss of country.
Well, can you go back if you want to? Are there legal ramifications to returning to Iran?
Well, for me, because of the books, it would be problematic. But a lot of Iranians, if you haven't stepped on the regime's toes in any way, a lot of Iranians do go back. And, nowadays you can travel back and forth easily.
And I read somewhere in one of your works, most Iranians here in the United States have been here for at least a decade. Is that an accurate
most
assessment?
Most of them have been here almost 25 years, 30 years.
Do you find that, I was reading an interesting article of yours, I believe it was in maybe the Jewish Journal of Los Angeles, and you were discussing Iranians and Iranian Americans and the difference and how some people still seem to have, maybe the allegiance isn't the correct word, but associate themselves strongly with Iran, even more so than the United States. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's the whole question of identity and what do you see yourself as? So you've lived someplace for 30 years. Does that, and you have a passport from that country, does that make you, an American,
right,
or wherever you've lived, or is where you are from, is your nationality the thing that in your heart that you long for? So. I think, for me, there's never any question that my allegiance is to this country. But I can't exactly say I'm American because, what is an American anyway? But, sort of like your what my kids call white people.
Right.
I can't say that I'm white, and I don't feel like a white person, which is sometimes useful in writing because when you're one step removed, you get to observe with greater objectivity.
Right.
And that helps. I see a lot about this country that maybe your average white person doesn't see.
Speaking of Iran, obviously, very sensitive situation going on over there right now with the fear of nuclear capability. What's your impression? Now, I know we've already discussed, I won't discuss your political affiliation, but I know who you're rooting for in this upcoming election.
No, discuss it. I'm for Hillary.
Hillary,
yes.
Baby.
Yes, Hillary.
Now, you got a lot of Obama fans working out of college.
I
Seems
know.
like Obama's got a lot of the younger vote.
I know.
Well, what do you think? What do you think about how Bush has handled things in terms of Iran?
Well, the same way he's handled everything else.
Not so good?
I think this country started going downhill when Reagan came into office, and it's just been going downhill. But I think the Bush presidency is going to go down in history as the darkest. He's going to go down in history as the worst president.
You think?
Absolutely.
I've heard that before.
Absolutely. And, you know, whoever comes into office is going to be cleaning up after him for decades in so many areas. And Iran is, you know, is one of them. But the regime in Iran would have been a problem no matter who was in office. That's the truth. The question is, how do you deal with that problem? And what Bush did with invading Iraq just opened the door. You know, Iraq is now the backyard to Iran, and anybody could have told him that. You know, you have a professor here, Robert Shear, who was screaming from every rooftop for years. He's a commentator also.
Right.
And for the whole time this debate was going on, should we go to war, shouldn't we go to war, he kept saying, why would you do that? All you're doing is handing the whole Shiite nation over to Iran. So Iran now is a hell of a lot stronger than it was before Bush.
It's a very interesting concept, actually. I'd never thought of it like that. Now, would you ever consider going back?
I'd go back to look around. I wouldn't go back to live there.
What amazes me is in your writing, you describe places very crisply and very in detail, yet it's been so long since you've been back in the country. Do you think that's because it was the formative years in your life that you have such a great recollection of?
Yeah,
Iran?
I think, and then I write about places that don't exist anymore, that didn't exist when I was around, you know, in the past. I think most of what happens to you happens in the first few years. And the thing about having distance, time, but also physical distance, is that you get to conjure up only the most important details of things. So if you're going to describe a landscape, for instance, you're not looking at it and you don't have the possibility to actually see it physically. And it works better because then you only conjure up the essentials, and somehow the image gets more crisp, as you call it.
And I know that Iranians or people who have lived in Iran who have read your book have said that they have seen these places and they're described to a T. It's just that amazes me that your memory is that good. You must not have drank as much in college as I did.
No, I didn't drink. But you know what? My memory is terrible when it comes to anything else. It just for writing, it works. Other than that, I don't remember anything.
Well, I know you have something special coming up here in March. We got to take a quick break, and we'll come back and talk about it.
Okay, great.
It's CU at USC. You're watching the best college talk show on television. So far, so good.